Hi guys, Miss Huber here. So we are going to do some demonstrations tonight on lesson 7, and it's a 3-part demonstration for the 7-1 inquiry. So I know today you guys read the introduction to lesson 7, and I had you answer 4 questions. Where's the warmest place on earth? Which I hope you know where that is, and I hope that you answered the equator. And what causes convection heating in the air. And I hope that you answered uneven heating with the process of heat transfer that we learned back right actually before we left for all of this craziness. And question 3 was now to make a connection with the warmest place on earth being the equator compared to the poles, and what do you think causes convection in the water? And I hope that you guys are kind of making the connection here that it might be somehow related. Air, water, kind of the same thing going on. And then naming 2 things of how the poles and the equator are different. And I hope that you answered something like, they don't receive the same amount of energy. One's hot, one's cold. Kind of keeping it along the lines of how much radiation the equator receives versus the poles. Hours of daylight, you do know that from the first book that we learned about. So you should know that, obviously the equator gets 12 hours daylight, 12 hours darkness every day. The poles, during the season when it's experiencing winter, gets some days of 0 daylight hours, so it's much colder. Now, we are going to be looking at in lesson 7.1, and I'm going to call this an ABC. So in the A demonstration, we're going to be looking at how the ocean currents work and how does temperature affect ocean currents. And so I'm going to set this all up for you so you can see the whole thing as if you were sitting in front of me, because I would be in essence doing this in front of you. Now you can see here that I have my hot pot, and I have some ice water here making cold. Okay, obviously ice water we need. Okay, we need the drastic temperature changes of these 2 waters. And then I have here room temperature water, because we need to see the drastic change, hot, cold, and room temperature, just like you saw me use hot and cold last week. So I also have for us my bin, which is the bins just like we used in lesson 11 of the last book, which was tectonics, and those bins that we were making the earthquakes and water erosion and wind erosion, stuff like that happening. And then I have some beakers. So I'm going to set this up for us so we can see live what is happening here. Okay. So bear with me as Miss Huber gets us ready to rock and roll here. All right. So here's my beakers. Whoop. That's not good. My beakers. Here we go. I'm going to need potassium permanganate as well. I'm going to dump these. I have multiple bottles of room temperature water, but I'm going to dump these room temperature water bottles into my bin. So we can get a decent amount of water in here. See, I'm not, pretending here, shooting water at the place. And I got 2 more bottles. I'm going to do them at both so we can get this going here. Maybe I'll just use one. Let's see. Now I'm using these waters. I'm going to obviously fill this bin about halfway so we can see a good amount of water in here. And that'll be my ocean, right? So we're going to fill this in. And then what we're going to do is I'm gonna put a hot and I'm gonna put a cold into this ocean. And you're gonna get to see, and of course I'm gonna help you as seeing the side view, the top view of how the water, the room temperature water, reacts to the hot and cold that is in these beakers, okay? And I'm going to use, if you recall, back when we did the convection currents in the air, we used the punk sticks and that smoke that was created to show how the air moved. For this, we're gonna be using this potassium permanganate. It's kind of gonna look like Kool-Aid. It's just a technically chemical that we're going to put into the water, and it's going to show you the motion of how the water is going to react to the hot and the cold beakers in the container of room temperature water. Okay, so I'm gonna get this situated and set up here. So I'm gonna put into one of the beakers this ice cold water here. Try not to make too much of a mess here. Okay, so I have this one that's filled with cold water and this one that's filled with hot. Whoa. All right, so I got one hot and one cold, and here we go. Now I'm going to take my potassium permanganate